What's happening, guys? My name is Anthony, and in today's video we've got another league racing video for you guys, and this time it's PSGL round 4 at France. And as you can see from the title, it says something along the lines of worst luck in a league race I've ever had, or something along those lines, and that's because we had some pretty bad luck going into this. So if you do end up enjoying this video, make sure that you smash the like button and let's get ready for this video. So the main reason that we had some pretty bad luck going into this is mainly at the beginning when I was trying to start the stream, but also happens towards the end as well, which you'll see later on in the video. But going into this, I started streaming. I had to restart the stream 4 different times just because of the OBS crashing and just having general issues with OBS. And then on top of that, the gameplay might look a little bit choppy to you guys, quite smooth, but for me it was hellish. It felt like I was playing with 30 FPS the entire time, and yeah, that includes qualifying, that includes the race. The whole time it felt as if I was with 30 FPS, and that really made us struggle to find the limit, especially in qualifying where it was full wet conditions. As you can see, we were just trying to find the limit on this first lap and see exactly how quick we can go. We didn't invalidate the lap, and yeah, we had to go back in basically because it was drying out. It doesn't actually get to dry conditions, so we're not going to see any dry runs in this one. It is going to be inters, and that means that our strategy is pretty much out of the window because everyone's going to get a free choice of tire. So that means you really want to start as high up as possible in this situation. This situation really is very similar to just a regular Monaco qualifying, where you want to be as high up as possible, because with the strat, everyone's going to be on either the mediums or the hard compound of tires, and it's going to make your life very difficult if you're not at that higher sort of position. And as you can see, going through the first sector now, it's crazy. There's so many cars here, and we're just try not to be as distracted as possible with these cars and just try and be focused on our lap. You can see coming up to the start finish line now, we end up going P1, provisional P1 with a 40.6, but that immediately gets trumped by a lap almost a second quicker, and you can see that the track is getting quicker. And at this point now, I really just want to get a good lap on these inters because, as I said previously, you want to be as high up as possible. So yeah, we feel a lot more comfortable now at this point in the session as we did at the beginning, just because we've never actually really done any wet practice around France. And speaking of practice, I will be eventually making a video on what you guys should be doing if you want to practice for a league race. That should be coming soon, hopefully within the next week or so. I will try and get that one out. But you can see now, going on our fastest lap, which will end up being our fastest lap, and first sector was it wasn't too great. The first couple of corners especially was pretty bad. I believe we were already like 2 tenths down, or almost 2 tenths down, coming out of turn 2, which wasn't ideal. So that definitely meant that there was a good chunk of time in there, but we got purple for the second sector. And at this point now, I'm just trying to gain as much time as I can, because I know that there's going to be a lot of guys who have practiced more than me for this race, and I wasn't really expecting to get up in, the top 5. I wanted to roughly be, P6 if possible, because again, everyone's going to be starting on those fresh tires, which means it puts us as a huge disadvantage at this point. But coming up to the final couple of corners now, it's all about just sending it, but sadly we send a bit too much. We go a bit too wide there, losing a chunk of time. Going in third gear for this final corner, trying to get a maximum exit possible. You don't really want to be on the curb in wet conditions, because then you'll get a lot of wheel spin compared to the dry. And as we cross the line now, we end up getting a 39.4, which only puts us in P12. Which does put us at a huge advantage. But going into the strategy now, you can see we're doing hard to mediums, but what we're actually going to do is hard to softs. I wanted to try something that I thought that people wouldn't be doing, which was doing the hard to softs. So that's what we're going to try. And as we've got 4, 5 red lights for PSGL round 4, and lights out and away we go. We get a pretty decent start, I would say, on these hard compounds. AM in front of us gets a terrible start considering he is on the softer compound tire. He really should have gotten a rocket start compared to everyone around him who is on the hard tires. I don't remember how many people started on the mediums compared to the hards. I do believe most of the grid was on hard compounded tires at the beginning. But there were 3 people on the mediums, I'm guessing, just to try and make up as many positions as possible. And AM at the moment isn't doing the best of job of that. But either way, you can see now that Spy, who is on the mediums as well, absolutely sends it going into that corner. And that really made me nervous, because I was like, oh no, please don't tell me we're going to go through another Portimao where we're just battling on the first lap and end up losing so much time to the guys ahead. Luckily, that didn't end up happening, but you can see that the medium tire runners now, they're starting to find their strides. I think the tires are warming up a lot more nicer now than the hards, and you can see they're starting to make the moves. Not sure where AM is. But you can see that Bogger off as well, also on the mediums. Not sure what happened to him. I don't know if he ran wide or if he was hit off, but that puts him at a big disadvantage as well. And we're now currently sitting in exactly the same place that we started, and then moving on to lap 2 now. You can see that something happened to AM, I believe. I'm not entirely sure what, but he's now behind us, which is quite concerning for him. But for us, it's great. But he's just going to get better traction than us at this point because he is on the mediums. And we just really want to follow through with AM, but at the same time not lose too many positions. You can see we've lost one to Danny Coe, and you can see because he's on the hards, I decided I wanted to try and keep this position. If he was on the mediums, then I would probably just let him go because it was inevitable that he was going to pass me anyway. But at this point, we're on the same strategy, which means we're fighting for early positions here. So I wanted to try and keep it, but at the same time, I didn't want to lose too much time to the guys ahead. You can see just from the little battles that Danny and AM are having, we've already lost, I want to say, roughly about a second and a half to the guys ahead, which is not ideal. But again, it seems as if when it comes to PSGL, a lot of people like to battle towards the start of the race, so I just have to get used to that in a sense. But moving on to lap 3 now, Bogger off on the mediums. Remember that he did have that incident before. He started to find his stride again, and he makes a move on us. We're now sitting in P14, which again isn't great. We're not really quick on these hard tires, and I don't know if that's just a me thing or if it's a setup thing. Maybe the setup is just not that great on the hards. There is sort of a small detail with setups where, you know, they can feel a little bit different depending on the compound that you're on. So I don't know, it could be the setup, it could just be me. It probably is just me at this point, and you can see that my teammate is behind me in I believe it was P14. But moving on to lap 10 now, all the way on to lap 10. Not much happened between those laps there, and as we move on now, it's all about the pit stops. You can see that Bogger off is the first one of the mediums, I believe, to go into the pits. I'm not entirely sure. I don't know if the guys ahead maybe went in the pits as well, but I do believe around about where we were, he was the first to pit. And yeah, at this point I was thinking, what strategy should we go on? Should I really go on these hard softs? Because it does seem as if everyone was on hards, which meant that we had to try something different at least. And on lap 14 you can see that I decide to pull the plug and try something different. I go into the pits, and we're going for a hard to medium strategy instead, so that I can try and maybe get a huge undercut on the guys ahead who were probably going on the softs. I believe my teammate was going on the softs as well, which was what made me make this decision. And we do have a penalty, which does play a role towards the end of this race, which you'll see. And now we move on to lap 16, and Bogger off is on hard tires, and he's battling with Rue, and they have a little bit of an incident there going into lap 1 and 2. I decided to try and take advantage of that, but then I thought to myself, okay, well, Kevin is about 2 seconds ahead, so maybe if I slow down a little bit, I was already behind anyway. Let me just slow down a bit, get that DRS, and then I can make the definitive move instead of trying to force a move now and then losing it due to the DRS in a moment, which is coming up right now anyway. So yeah, using up all of our ERS, which to be honest, I will say I didn't use my ERS as effectively this race, which could have been another reason why I just wasn't as quick. Usually I feel as if I'm pretty good with my ERS management, but this race, I don't know, I just didn't feel comfortable with my pace, so I had to use a lot more of the energy than usual. But anyways, moving on to lap 23 now, you can see we're getting pushed off by AM, who's on the sauce, and I was starting to get really annoyed by that. It's happened multiple times throughout these races, not necessarily just with AM, but with other people as well. And I was starting to get frustrated now, and yeah, I feel as if maybe I just need to be more aggressive myself. But I feel as if I'm more aggressive, then we're going to cause an incident, and that's just going to ruin everything for myself rather than everyone else. But yeah, we're getting swallowed up right now due to the DRS. DRS is pretty powerful around France, so if you ain't got it, then yikes for you basically. And yeah, we've lost 3 positions, especially since most of them are on the softs as well. That doesn't help our situation, but we do have a few more penalties in our general area of battling than we did before, at least. So if I can make up a position or 2, then that'll be good for me. We've got Kevin behind us who doesn't have a penalty, so we always got to be mindful of him. Just maybe if we end up with another penalty, just let him pass and maybe just use him to sort of boost up our own speed. But for now, we'll just keep him behind and see what he plans on doing. We've got 3 cars battling ahead of us now. I was thinking if we can maybe squeeze in a position or so here, it will make it a lot more difficult for whoever's behind us to make that overtake, just because of the whole DRS situation. And we've also got Red Trucks as well, who's behind Kevin, also in this equation as well. He's got 6 seconds. Not sure what he's planning on doing, if he's planning on sending it because obviously the penalties, or if he's just planning on hanging back. You never know what people are thinking during this time, which is why I find league racing so fun, just because it is a game of chess, essentially, as AM makes a huge mistake here on the softs. And I don't know if his softs were going at this point. I think he just made a general mistake going through that corner. It's a very difficult one, and we did get a huge screen freeze here, which kind of ruined my plans of going for the move after that mistake. So yeah, I had to then wait until the next DRS zone if I wanted to make a move, and just try and keep ahead of Kevin, just so that I can definitely get past AM here. And then we quickly skip over to the end of Sector 1 now, so I can show you us making the move on AM, using our ERS as much as possible, and then got the DRS, so it gives us a big advantage. I believe AM was roughly close to the limit. He goes for a really defensive move here. I decide I'm going on the inside either way, and we try to go through the inside. We have another bit of contact with him and slightly go a little bit wider than I would want to. And yeah, I don't know if you can, I don't know if I've left it in. You can hear me just moaning about AM always being on the inside, pushing me out wide. To be honest, he didn't really push me out wide in that situation, but the other situation he definitely did. And then moving on to the final lap now, you can see our teammate managed to get ahead of us, but he's not got ERS, a lot of ERS compared to us. We definitely had a little bit more, which gives you a huge advantage when you're talking about, you know, the 10% range of ERS. It does really give you a massive advantage, and DRS is obviously very powerful, as I mentioned before. And now we are currently sitting in P10. I know it says P9, but remember that Kevin is behind us, and Kevin still doesn't have a penalty. But this is the worst luck that I was talking about earlier on in the video, so I am just going to let this part play.
Caution.
Oh, come on, man. Oh, are you fucking kidding me? Are you having a laugh, man? So yeah, on the final sector with the final lap, after everything we had already gone through with the screen freezes, with playing with 30 FPS, we end up retiring because of the mistake that Mateus, I believe his name is Mateus, made. And yeah, the thing that really annoyed me about this situation is just the fact that Mateus probably knew he was going to spin. I mean, he had literally just spun the other corner, so his tires were very hot at this point. And that corner, that left-hander, is notorious on this track. It is one of the most difficult corners to take, especially when you've just spun at the previous one and your tires are hot. Even when your tires aren't hot, even when they're at the optimum temperature, it's very difficult to go through that corner without spinning, and you can easily make a mistake when it comes to it. So yeah, it was very annoying, and if I didn't actually hit into Mateus there, then it wouldn't have put me on the curb, which caused me to spin and DNF in the first place. So yeah, very frustrating end to a very frustrating day. And I wish I could at least have finished that race. It would have been a result, it would have been a couple of points at least, but sadly it's nothing for us. So yeah, that's where this video is going to end. Make sure to hit the like button, as I said. Make sure to check out any of the league racing videos, which will be on the screen right about now. I'll catch you guys in my next video.